It's fair to say that she grew up in a Hindu family, but not a particularly religious family in either direction. In fact, when I met my wife, we were both, I would consider myself an agnostic or an atheist, and that's what I think she would have considered herself as well. You know, everybody has to come to their own arrangement here. The way that we've come to our arrangement is she's my best friend. We talk to each other about this stuff. So we decided to raise our kids Christian. Our two oldest kids who go to school, they go to a Christian school. Our 8-year-old did his first communion about a year ago. That's the way that we have come to our arrangement. But, thank you. My 8-year-old was also very proud of his first communion. Thank you, guys. I'll tell him that Ole Miss wishes him the best. But I think everybody has to have this own conversation when you're in a marriage. I mean, it's true for friends of mine who are in Protestant and Catholic marriages, friends of mine who are in, atheist and Christian marriages. You just got to talk to the only advice I can give is you just got to talk to the person that God has put you with, and you've got to make those decisions as a family unit. For us, it works out. Now, most Sundays, Usha will come with me to church. As I've told her, and I've said publicly, and I'll say now in front of 10,000 of my closest friends, do I hope eventually that she is somehow moved by the same thing that I was moved in by church? Yeah, I am
tremendously blessed and honored tonight to be able to introduce to you a very, very dear friend.
Breaking news. Tonight, every curtain, every polished grin, every rehearsed act of loyalty has finally crashed into dust. Candace Owens has unleashed the most explosive political detonation of the decade, a blast so violent it's rattling the entire foundation of America's conservative world. Because according to Candace, Charlie Kirk's death was not an accident, not a sudden tragedy, not an unfortunate twist of fate. It was orchestrated, calculated, carried out by the three people he believed would never betray him. And now, the secret recordings are public. Candace Owens claims she holds evidence, actual proof, showing that Erika Kirk, J.D. Vance, and Mikey McCoy were all tied to the planning of Charlie's final moments. The internet is erupting. Social media is in complete meltdown. And Charlie's followers? They're stunned beyond belief because the names Candace just exposed weren't foes. They were his circle, his family, his closest, most trusted allies. But in the recordings Candace analyzed, each one carried a shadow of their own, a motive darker than anyone imagined. Erika Kirk, consumed by ambition, desperate to crown herself as the first lady of a movement forged in her husband's name or whatever remained of it. J.D. Vance, dragging a simmering resentment, a private war born from Usha Vance's refusal to abandon her Hindu heritage, a conflict he whispered about for years. Mikey McCoy, the envious figure lurking behind Charlie, craving control of Tfusa, knowing he would never rise as long as Charlie continued to breathe. Candace claims all three had a purpose. All three had a hand in it. And all three believed their secret would stay buried in the dark. But tonight, the truth has surfaced. And everything is about to change forever. The studio feels ice cold tonight. The lights are lowered, the monitors flicker with static bursts, and a chilling heaviness settles over the room like a silent alarm. The camera drifts closer toward Candace Owens. Her face isn't furious, it's shattered, drained, as if she's been holding a truth that's been crushing her for far too long. She leans in, breath trembling, and speaks with a voice so steady it seems seconds away from breaking. Tonight, I'm going to reveal something I prayed I'd never have to say publicly. Charlie Kirk's death was not an accident. It wasn't random misfortune. It was deliberate. The silence afterward is suffocating, heavy. A silence that grips viewers and refuses to let go. Candace's expression hardens. And the people responsible were the very three he trusted with his life. Her voice quivers, but she pushes forward anyway. Erika Kirk, J.D. Vance, Mikey McCoy, all three complicit. In the distance, a monitor crackles alive, its waveform pulsing like a fading heartbeat. The atmosphere snaps tighter. Candace shifts slightly toward the glowing screens as if the proof itself is silently confronting her. I have the recordings. The recordings they believed would stay buried forever. Recordings that expose every hidden motive, every low whisper, every methodical move. She shuts her eyes for a moment, as though replaying the horror in her mind, then snaps them open with icy precision. Once you grasp what's inside these files, you will never view these three individuals the same again. A wave of static rolls across the monitors, a ghostly, broken frequency that sends a chill through the room. Candace stiffens. Let's begin where this entire nightmare was born with Erika. Footage of Erika Kirk fills the screens, flawless smiles, choreographed entrances, speeches crafted for applause. But now, the images feel sinister, stripped of innocence. Candace narrates over them, voice sharp enough to cut. Erika craved control. Not influence, control. She wanted to crown herself the first lady of a movement constructed on Charlie's back. The clips shift to Erika standing behind Charlie at rallies, eyes sweeping the room with cold calculation. To Erika, Charlie wasn't a partner. He was an obstacle, a wall standing between her and the throne she believed belonged to her. A faint private whisper plays, Erika's voice, low and chilling. He doesn't see it yet, but he will. Candace leans straight into the lens. She wasn't seeking understanding. She was waiting for her moment. The screens transition to J.D. Vance, stiff posture, tense interviews, eyes hiding years of simmering anger. Candace's tone drops into something even darker. And then came J.D. Clips roll of J.D. speaking about faith, his voice tight, his gaze drifting away from the interviewer. What he labeled as complex was really a slow-acting venom. His wife, Usha, refused to abandon her Hindu beliefs, and J.D. never let that go. More footage flashes, a forced grin, a clenched jaw, eerie little moments no one ever noticed until now. He carried that bitterness like a live, explosive. Candace leans toward the microphone, her voice slicing through the silence. So when Erika revealed her hunger for power, J.D. revealed his hunger for payback. The footage dissolves into scenes of Mikey McCoy, always trailing behind Charlie, holding his papers, fixing his mic, guiding him off stage. Candace's tone softens into a chilling whisper. And then there was Mikey, the man no one ever questioned. Clips show Charlie being adored by crowds, uplifted by fans, celebrated by supporters. Then Mikey, quiet, unnoticed, practically invisible. For years, Mikey lived inside Charlie's shadow. And jealousy grows silently until it screams louder than loyalty. A rapid montage rolls, Charlie shaking hands, receiving applause, delivering speeches, while Mikey fades deeper and deeper into the background. Candace continues, Mikey wanted Tpuza for himself. He wanted the authority, the spotlight, the power. But Charlie was the heartbeat. As long as Charlie lived, Mikey would remain in the dark. Suddenly, the screen distorts, a violent audio spike cuts through. Candace nods grimly. This is where the recordings begin. A broken, haunting snippet plays, muffled, sinister. Erika, timing has to be perfect. J.D., he won't even realize. Mikey, just give the signal. Candace closes her eyes, steadying her breath, then speaks quietly. Those 4 words sealed Charlie's destiny. The studio sinks into deeper shadow. The screens fade into warm, heartfelt clips of Charlie, pulling Mikey into a hug backstage, sharing laughs with J.D. at rallies, standing proudly beside Erika during campaign moments. Candace's voice trembles for the first time. Charlie trusted all 3 of them. He believed in them. He lifted them up. He called them his family. Her tone fractures into grief and fury, yet behind closed doors they were designing his downfall. The monitors stutter again, revealing fragments from the second leaked recording, colder, sharper, carrying a tension that crawls under the skin. Erika's voice, we keep going. J.D., we follow through. Mikey. He won't stand in the way. Candace inhales shakily. They were right. Charlie never sensed the storm closing in. The studio plunges into near-complete darkness except for a harsh, icy beam on Candace's face. She locks eyes with the camera, the weight of truth pressing through her gaze. If these recordings are authentic, this isn't betrayal. It's a coordinated strike from the inside. Her voice rises, cracking with rage and heartbreak. A wife chasing the spotlight. A politician drowning in bitterness. An aide corroded by envy. She leans forward, her whisper slicing through the stillness. 3 motives, 3 conspirators, 1 victim. Candace pulls her shoulders back, eyes shimmering with a mix of fury and devastation. And the most chilling part is, this chapter isn't finished. She stops, a single, echoing beat of silence. Tomorrow, I'll unveil the peace they prayed would stay hidden forever. The screen slams into black. Then it erupts again, revealing shaky, distorted security footage, warped shadows shifting, blurred silhouettes moving, voices smothered beneath static. And then Candace's voice slices through the darkness like a knife. The camera drifts back to Candace, her face now carved with a colder weight, as if she stepped into a nightmare that refuses to let her leave. She rests her hands on the desk slowly, almost too calmly, considering the storm she's about to release. Tonight, I'm going to show you just how far they went, how precisely they covered their tracks, and how close Charlie came to exposing them before they struck. A faint clicking echoes through the speakers, sharp, delicate, unsettling. The sound of a file opening of truth being peeled back layer by excruciating layer. Candace turns her eyes toward the glowing monitor behind her. Before the recordings, before the betrayal, Charlie had already begun noticing the cracks. A blurry video plays, Charlie backstage, wiping his face in frustration, whispering to someone out of frame. The words are lost, but the tension in his posture says everything. Candace continues softly. Charlie wasn't naive. He was sharp. He sensed the shift long before he understood it. He caught the coldness in Erika's stare. He heard the strain hiding in JD's tone. He felt Mikey slipping away from him. The footage shifts into blurred screenshots of messages, just hazy bubbles, unreadable but heavy with implication. He told someone close that something was off. He said the people around him felt different, distant, scripted. The camera returns to Candace, her expression now softened with something that feels painfully close to grief. He didn't realize he was already trapped inside a plan designed around his downfall. The screens flicker violently, like a system collapsing under too much truth. Suddenly, a fresh batch of recordings appears. Not full dialogue, only broken shards, chilling in their incompleteness. A woman's sharp tone, a man's low whisper, a cold, restrained laugh buried beneath static. Candace lowers her gaze before speaking again. These weren't conversations of panic. They were conversations of coordination. She leans back in her chair. And Erika, she wasn't the grieving widow she pretended to be in public. She was the one accelerating everything from behind the scenes. The visuals shift to Erika at Charlie's final public appearance, her grin a little too polished, her gaze a little too piercing, her stance unnervingly composed. Candace's tone sharpens like steel. Those who intend to betray you always smile the brightest just before the blow. A slow zoom captures the edge of Erika's expression, the subtle head tilt, the way her eyes lock onto Charlie, not in admiration, but in assessment. People assumed she was looking at him with pride, but now we know she was measuring him, studying the exact point where her future no longer needed him by her side. The screen fades to black for half a breath, then bursts open with JD Vance footage. Clips of JD in interviews, JD on rally stages, JD trading stiff, tense looks with Charlie behind the curtains. Candace speaks with a wounded calmness. JD's bitterness wasn't only religious. It ran deeper. It was political. His climb required Charlie to step out of the way. And when Charlie challenged him publicly just weeks before everything unfolded, JD took that as a personal attack. The footage rewinds, showing the moment Charlie gently disagrees with a policy. JD's strained smile, JD's rigid nod, JD's jaw locking for a heartbeat too long. Candace whispers, "You don't need audio to hear rage that loud." A soft digital chime opens another file. This time it's Mikey. Clips show him standing behind Charlie, shoulders stiff, fists subtly tightening, his expression stripped of warmth. Candace's voice cuts like a blade. People insisted Mikey look horrified when Charlie went down, but the footage says the opposite. A slowed video plays, frame by frame. The moment strikes. Everyone around recoils. Everyone freezes. Everyone spirals into panic. Except Mikey. He doesn't jump. He doesn't turn. He doesn't even blink. He calmly raises his phone, lifts it to his ear, and walks away without hesitation. Candace's voice turns glacial. That isn't shock. That isn't fear. That isn't reflex. She leans in, lowering her tone to a razor-sharp hush. That is execution. A long, heavy silence settles over the studio. Then Candace drops something deeper, something colder. In the leaked audio, there's a section where Mikey says something horrifying. The speakers crackle. A distorted male voice echoes through the static. Once he's out of the picture, Candace doesn't repeat it. She doesn't need to. Her tone sinks with grief. Charlie never imagined that the man he trusted to manage his entire movement was preparing to manage it without him. The visuals shift to footage from Charlie's final week, laughing backstage, shaking hands, delivering speeches, embracing supporters. Candace's voice trembles faintly. He didn't know. Rewrites everything you thought you understood. She leans closer, breath held. The screen snaps back from black, like someone tearing away a curtain from a secret the world was never meant to uncover. The room seems colder now, all warmth sucked out, replaced with a chilling emptiness. Candace Owens sits motionless, staring at the floor for several seconds before finally lifting her head. Her voice drops, soft but unbearably heavy. You've heard the planning. You've heard the motives. You've heard the hints. But nothing compares to what comes next. She taps the desk once, twice, a quiet, shaky rhythm that mirrors the rising tension pressing against the studio walls. The final leaked audio is the last call Charlie made before everything unfolded. The screen behind her trembles, digital static rewinding, glitching as if the footage itself doesn't want to be exposed. Candace steadies herself. This is the moment that shattered me. A faint hum vibrates through the speakers, followed by a soft, nervous clicking, like someone anxiously tapping their phone. Candace explains in a low, fragile tone. Charlie made a single call that morning. Just one. And he had no idea someone else was listening. The audio starts. A trembling inhale. Charlie's voice, strained, trying to remain calm. I don't know what's happening, but something feels off
acting
today.
as CEO
He hesitates.
while her husband was still
Erika's
alive.
acting weird. Mikey won't look me in the face. JD hasn't replied all night. Soft footsteps echo through the background. Charlie pacing, uneasy, rattled. I'm trying to shrug it off, but it won't leave me. Candace's throat tightens. Her eyes shine, not with theatrics, but with raw sorrow. He sensed it. He felt the danger closing in. Just hours before the end, Charlie knew something dark was approaching. The audio presses on. Charlie forces a weak laugh, empty, brittle. Maybe I'm overthinking. Maybe I'm exhausted. Erika keeps telling me I'm imagining it. Candace leans in, her voice breaking. He trusted her even then, even when she was already buried deep inside the plan. The recording shifts, Charlie's tone collapsing into a fragile whisper, nearly swallowed by static. If anything happens to me, just tell my family I love them. The screen trembles. Candace's hand covers her mouth, stopping herself from falling apart completely. He said that only hours before his final moment. The studio falls still. Not the stage stillness of TV, the crushing silence of loss. Candace pulls herself together. But that last call wasn't the only thing uncovered. She straightens, her voice sharpening into a blade of fury. There was another recording, captured at the exact second everything went wrong. The lights dim to a cold haze. The audio rolls. A violent crack. Chaos. Screams. Rushing footsteps. Pandemonium. Voices shouting, "Get down! Where's security? Get help now!" Amid the chaos, three voices cut through the panic like venom through fire. Erika's icy murmur, "It's starting." JD's low command, "Don't move. Stay composed." Mikey's disturbingly calm tone, "Told you. He's not getting back up." Candace lifts her gaze toward the camera, anger blazing beneath the surface. That isn't shock. That isn't fear. That is certainty. The audio slams to a stop. Candace strikes the desk with her palm, not out of fury, but from sheer devastation. Do you understand what this means? They weren't reacting. They were expecting it. The air in the studio vibrates with the weight of her words. She presses on. This story doesn't end with their betrayal. It stretches into the cover-up that followed. Clips flash across the screens. Erika forcing a trembling smile during a public tribute. JD stiffly describing a national loss with rehearsed solemnity. Mikey hiding behind dark shades, dodging reporters. Candace narrates. These weren't loyal friends mourning a tragedy. These were performers following a script. Next, security footage fills the monitors. Mikey in a deserted hallway, phone against his ear, back turned to every camera. The audio isolates his voice, faint, filtered, chilling. It's finished. Everything went exactly the way we planned. Candace's eyes widen with raw disgust. That was said 10 minutes after the chaos. The studio tightens again, air collapsing inward